the Journal would not have run this story unless they were absolutely rock solid that this drawing is legitimate. And I know that Donald Trump lied immediately, that he doesn't write pictures. In fact, you can go to New York charity auctions. You can go to certain New York homes and you can see Donald Trump's doodles.
Donald Trump, as you may have heard, suing, of course, for libel and for slander over claims he sent the sex offender Jeffrey Epstein this lewd letter and a sketch of a naked woman. He has denied that. He says that letter is fake. But I'm wondering how this is playing in the US right now. Let's bring in Professor Scott Lucas, Professor of American Politics at the University College Dublin, editor as well of EA World View, a site on US politics and foreign policy. Very good morning to you, Scott. What is going on then politically in the US after this sort of debacle and this reporting that Donald Trump has denied is true?
Well, I think you can start with the rift which this has caused within the Trumpist camp, especially those who have embedded themselves in conspiracy theories for so many years. Going back to the start, in fact, of Donald Trump's 2016 campaign, Trump had played upon the idea that Epstein had these files that implicated Democrats, that implicated his political opponents. He played upon the idea that this was connected to wider conspiracy theories, such as the Pizzagate hoax, that Democrats were involved in pedophilia. He did that when he was in power. He did it when he was in opposition. He did it when he got back into the White House. As late as February, his attorney general was saying the Epstein files were on her desk. But at the end of the day, it was put up or shut up. That many people who are really entrenched, that they just are tied into this belief that these conspiracy theories are true. They wanted to see the evidence. And when he couldn't produce it, it caused this discontent. Now, for the moment, he's trying to buy time with two things. One is he's making a very limited declaration that he says, all right, we'll get grand jury transcripts released. Well, that's up to judges to release grand jury transcripts, and that's only a small fraction of the Epstein material. Secondly, he's playing shoot the messenger with this threat, to sue the Wall Street Journal for $10 billion. I personally think that the Journal would not have run this story unless they were absolutely rock solid that this drawing is legitimate. And I know that Donald Trump lied immediately, that he doesn't write pictures. In fact, you can go to New York charity auctions. You can go to certain New York homes and you can see Donald Trump's doodles. So, but the point of this is it tries to tie up his believers in the idea of, it must be the fake news media. But I'll close with this, as important as it may be, and we can discuss Epstein further. I think there are even bigger issues out there. I think the U.S. economy is going to be the key one that determines Trump's political future. And the signs there are not good, especially amongst his tariff debacle.
Yeah, and this is it. But I suppose the Epstein issue is particularly interesting because of how it plays to his base. And Donald Trump's normal way of responding to things that he doesn't like being said about him, true or not, is deny, but then is to go, fake news, blah, blah, blah. That works normally with his base. Do you think it will work this time, given how entrenched people are, as you say?
I think we're in the middle of finding that out, and I wouldn't want to predict it, given how unpredictable Trump is, given how unpredictable U.S. politics is. It could well be that the conspiracy theorists forgive him. It could well be that those who are really invested in the Epstein story give him a pass. But I think this one is different from what we've seen. Trump's tactics, the dead cat tactics to always shift to another issue, the idea that his enemies are out to get him, that it's all just a witch hunt. It worked over his ties with Russia, which were very much true and not a hoax. It worked over, for example, his blackmail of Ukraine, trying to cut off military aid to them all the way back in 2019. It worked even when he instigated that coup attempt in 2021 with the Capitol attack, because people still wanted to believe, look, I'm part of the MAGA movement. But he was playing upon their enemies as well. Here he's not. He was on their side, and now he isn't. Now he is actually insulting them and saying that they are weak for believing in the Epstein files. And it's one thing to follow your dear leader when he attacks other people. It's another to follow your dear leader when he's attacking you.
I will say this. Where are the Democrats on all this? How are they capitalizing? Because as far as I'm aware, they're just pretty silent on most things these days. You would have thought that this would be a real issue that they could really get behind. And I know that they are saying some things and they are calling for some things and the release of more information. But surely this is their opportunity, isn't it, to reach out to those people now that are starting to question their loyalty to Donald Trump?
Well, the Democrats have been vocal on this. I mean, the Democrats came out when this flared up a couple of weeks ago, and they said, let's see the files. There's no excuse not to release the material that the Attorney General Pam Bondi said was on her desk. They've repeated that. They have not been shy. The media is not paying attention to the Democrats.
That's more the issue, isn't it? I wonder.
Yeah.
The Democrats might be making noises, but is it getting through?
Yeah, Trump is still he's still the story that sells. I mean, this goes back to 2016 when CBS, which completely capitulated to Trump on another issue in the past week, the head of CBS, Les Moonves, says, "Oh well, he's good for our ratings. This is why we run the stories." And 9 years later, that's still the case. But I do think there's an element here also of that when the other side is in trouble, when the other side is tearing itself apart, you don't get out in front of them. You don't get out and make yourself the target here, especially given that, Democrats have been the target of this conspiracy theory for so many years. So you make your position well known, but you allow Donald Trump in a way to sort of twist in the wind and to try to spin and to try to extricate for himself for this, while also presenting yourself as the reliable party on other issues, which takes me back not only to the economy, but immigration, where Donald Trump, and this is a huge story that's not picking up traction, is sinking in the opinion polls over his approach to immigration. Not necessarily, I think, with his base, but with a number of folks who voted for him, but now are quite disenchanted with the idea that it's deportation first, it's the denial of rights first, and then we'll talk about the serious issue around migration and refugees.
Yeah, it's all fascinating stuff, and it all sort of feeds into each other, doesn't it? All of this. Professor Scott Lucas, thank you as always for your thoughts on everything happening in the US at the moment.